Okay, so good evening, everyone. So this is the video for week one. So we would be discussing about crime, introduction to criminology, and what is crime. So first of all, I would like to introduce the differentiation between crime and deviance. So there is a slight difference between what is crime and what is deviance. So crime is socially rejected behavior which is against the law. So the activity that the law does not permit anything that is considered to be a crime. And talking about deviance, deviance is a behavior that is socially rejected but might not be rejected by the law. So it might be permitted to you as a legal activity, but people might not like it, and it does not follow the societal norms. So you might be neglected by the society for doing such things. Those things are known as deviance. So going digging further into the discussion, so we need to know what is crime. So anything, as I said before, anything that is considered to be an illegal activity, that is known as crime. And what we consider as crime right now, so it differs with time, culture, and discipline. So something that might be a crime in the past would not be could not be considered a crime now, or something that used to be a legal activity before cannot be considered a legal activity today. Taking taking an example of the current use of cannabis and weed in Canada or like worldwide. So weed usage has been legalized by the government, and some amount of drugs, some dose of drugs is also legalized by the Canadian government since like last 5 to 8 years, and which used to be a crime beforehand. So crime also depends on time, and it also depends on location. Taking the same example forward, just as weed and cannabis usage is legalized in Canada and drug usage is legalized in Canada, it is not permitted in other countries such as India or let's say Dubai. So something that is considered illegal or a crime in India or Dubai or other countries is not considered to be a crime in Canada. So crime also depends on your location where you stay. And moving on forward, different societies respond to crime in numerous ways. Let's say uh, you you commit a rape in India. You still have your rights as a person, and there is a procedure that follows the whole scenario where you're going. That is a different thing. But moving on forward, how Dubai handles rape is they do have a very instant procedure to penalize or to punish the culprit of the crime. What they do is they take the culprit of the crime in public and shoot them, setting an example that this kind of behavior is unacceptable. So that is different. That is an example of how different societies respond to different kinds of crime in different ways. Criminological theories can also be distinguished into like consensus and conflict-based perspectives. So consensus could be a large amount of crime that is considered by a lot of people, whereas if we consider like conflict-based perspectives, crime that is happen on the behalf of argument between two people, that is like conflict based. So the term crime derives from the Latin term crimen, that is which means judgment or offense. So what is criminology? Criminology is actually the study of criminal activities, the mindsets, the biological method, the scientific method of the scientific approach of how um, the science behind like crimes, or how criminals perform the activities, why do they perform what they have, and criminology studies like behaviors between minor acts of deviance of violation of criminal laws. So criminology started in the late 19th century. So it was actually the product of a scientific revolution. So indigenous societies around the world had views of crime and justice long before this. So the indigenous societies had very specific perspectives about crime way before criminology was introduced to the society. They had their own ways to judge what is crime and what should be considered as crime, and they had their own punishments for the crimes. Moving on forward, so as I told, we have a biological approach to crime and the applied idea of evolution of study of crime. So crime in Canada. So we have some legalistic approach for crime in Canada, which focuses on the violation of the laws of the code of conduct and crimes seen as transgression which violate law of society. Crimes are also considered to be an offense against the society or an offense against the law. So can we, as I told before, what might be like conflict-based perspective can also be a crime. Let's take the example of colonialism. So colonialism, when Britishers colonialized India, let's say, take that example for instance. So when Britishers colonized India, so they were the rulers of the nation at that time. So in their eyes, they were not considered to be colonial. They were not considered to be a criminal because, as per their perspective, they were only conquering land and resources to benefit their own country. That could not be considered a crime in their eyes. But the people who were colonized by the outer influence and the outer society, they were uh, they were they were actually considered a criminal in the eyes of the colonizers because um they were trying to protest against the injustice that was happening with them. They were fighting for their own rights, but as in the eyes of the colonizers, they were considered to be terrorists because they were against the government of the present time. So what we consider as crime is also on the basis that how it's framed, and media has a very good way to frame crime in their own method. So media consider crime what they display to us, what they show us, is what we believe. So if we believe that something is a crime, if they show us a specific scenario is portrayed, let's say a man is depicted slapping a woman on camera, and the headlines say that this man is hitting a woman, which is a non-legal activity, we should not be doing this and stuff like that. So in our eyes we might consider him as a criminal, while the backstory could be something else. Be um he might be vandalized by the women, or he could have gotten in a problem with that woman. We don't know anything about the background story, so we might consider that as a crime. So that is the whole problem with framing. How crime is framed to us, that's what we believe. Thank you.